I'm Clarence Washington. I'm 87 years old, and my blood is still out there somewhere, in some laboratory, in some freezer, in some place I'll never see, being used for purposes I'll never know. They took it from me 63 years ago. Didn't ask, didn't tell me, just took it. Like I was a thing, like my body belonged to them. I've never told this story publicly. Not once in 63 years. My wife knew. My children know pieces of it, but the whole truth. I've kept it locked inside me like a shameful secret. Like I was the one who did something wrong. I'm done with that. I'm 87 years old and I'm tired of carrying their shame. So I'm going to tell you what the United States government did to me, what they did to hundreds of men who looked like me, and I'm going to tell you why. To this day, black folks don't trust doctors, don't trust hospitals, don't trust the very people who are supposed to heal us, because we remember, our bodies remember, even when the world wants to forget. I need to take you somewhere most people have never heard of, a place called Macon County, Alabama, 1961. But to understand what happened to me, you need to understand what had been happening there for 30 years before I arrived. In 1932, the United States Public Health Service started a study. They told 600 black men in Macon County that they were going to receive free medical treatment, free treatment for sharecroppers and farmers who'd never seen a doctor in their lives. That sounded like a miracle. These men were poor, uneducated, desperate. They trusted the government. They trusted the doctors in their white coats who smiled and called them by their first names and promised to take care of them. It was a lie, all of it. The doctors weren't treating anything. They were watching what happened when syphilis went untreated in the human body. 399 of those men had syphilis. The doctors knew it, and they deliberately withheld treatment for 40 years. They watched those men go blind, go insane, die. They watched the disease spread to wives and children. And they took notes, exposed their lies only in 1972, long after my time there. They called it the Tuskegee Study of untreated syphilis in the Negro male. I was not part of that study. Let me be clear about that. By the time I arrived in Macon County, the study had been running for almost 30 years. I was 24 years old, just married, just moved from Montgomery to work on my uncle's farm. I didn't know anything about any study. Nobody talked about it. The men who were part of it didn't even know what was really happening to them. But what happened to me was connected. It was all connected. The same institution, the same doctors, the same belief that black bodies were there for the taking. In the spring of 1961, I got sick. Fever that wouldn't break. Pain in my joints so bad I couldn't work. My wife, Dolores, she was scared, said I needed to see a doctor, but doctors cost money. Money we didn't have. Then someone told us about the county health clinic. Said they offered free treatment to colored folks, said the government ran it, said they'd take care of me. So I went. The clinic was a small brick building on the edge of town. Clean. Professional, white doctors and nurses moving around with clipboards and serious expressions. They seemed so official, so trustworthy. I'd never been in a place like that before. Never had white people in positions of authority treat me with what felt like respect. They did an examination, took my temperature, listened to my heart, asked me questions about my symptoms. Then they said, They needed to run some tests, needed to take some blood. I didn't think anything of it. That's what doctors do, right? They take blood, they run tests. That's medicine. They took 7 vials. I remember because I'd never had that much blood drawn before. I asked if that was normal. The nurse smiled and said, "We're just being thorough." Then they gave me some pills. Aspirin, I found out later, just regular aspirin, and told me to come back in 2 weeks. I came back. They took more blood, gave me more aspirin, told me to come back again. This went on for 18 months. Every 2 weeks, sometimes every week, I'd go to that clinic. They'd draw blood, examine me, write things down on their clipboards, give me aspirin or sugar pills, and I kept getting sicker. The fever would come and go. The joint pain got worse. I lost weight. Couldn't work like I used to. And they just kept taking blood, kept writing notes, kept smiling those professional smiles. Dolores started asking questions. She was sharper than me, more suspicious. She said, "Yeah, Clarence, if they're treating you, why aren't you getting better? What are they actually doing?" I didn't have an answer. One day, I was at the clinic waiting my turn, and I overheard 2 of the doctors talking in the hallway. They didn't know I was listening, or maybe they didn't care. Maybe they didn't think I was smart enough to understand. One of them said, "The samples from this batch are promising, good variety of presentations." The other one said, "Washington's particularly interesting. The joint involvement is textbook." Washington, that's my name. They were talking about me. I was a sample, a presentation, something interesting. I sat there frozen, didn't say a word during my examination that day, just let them draw their blood and give me their useless pills. But when I got home, I told Dolores what I'd heard. She said, we're done. You're not going back there." I never went back. And within 2 months, I found a different doctor, a black doctor in Montgomery who cost money we had to borrow. And he actually diagnosed me, actually treated me. Rheumatic fever, he said. Needed real medication, rest, care. Within 6 months, I was better. The thing I'd been suffering from for 2 years that the clinic had been treating for 18 months was gone in 6 months once I got actual medicine. But my blood, those dozens of vials they'd taken, they were gone. I had no idea where, no idea what they were being used for. For years, I tried not to think about it. Tried to tell myself maybe I was wrong. Maybe I misunderstood what those doctors said. Maybe they really were trying to help me and I just didn't understand the process. Then 1972 happened. A journalist broke the story about the Tuskegee Syphilis Study, exposed the whole thing. 40 years of deliberate medical neglect, 40 years of watching black men die when a simple shot of penicillin could have saved them. 40 years of lies. I read that story and I felt something crack open inside me because I recognized the names. The institution, the location, these were the same people, thus the same clinic, the same doctors who had smiled at me while they drained my blood into vial after vial. I wasn't part of the syphilis study, but I was part of something they never told me about, something they never asked permission for. My blood, my tissue, pieces of my body, they've been taken and used for research that I never consented to. And I would never know what they found, what they did with it. Whether some part of me is still sitting in a laboratory somewhere, being studied, being used, belonging to someone else. Let me tell you what that does to a man. What it does to know that your body was violated by the very people who were supposed to heal you. You stop trusting. not just doctors, everyone in authority, everyone with a clipboard and a white coat and a professional smile, you start to see the world differently. Start to wonder who else is lying to you, who else is using you. Dolores and I had 4 children. And every time one of them got sick, every time they needed to see a doctor, I felt the fear rise up in me. I'd go with them to every appointment, watch everything the doctor did, ask questions that made them uncomfortable, demand to know what every test was for, what every pill was supposed to do. Some doctors got annoyed, said I was being difficult, but I didn't care. I would not let what happened to me happen to my children, and I talked to them. When they were old enough to understand, I told them about Tuskegee, told them about my experience, told them that the medical establishment had not earned our trust, that they needed to be vigilant, careful, that their bodies belonged to them, and no one had the right to use them without permission. My son Marcus, he became a doctor himself, first in our family. Said he wanted to be the kind of doctor that black folks could trust. He's 61 now, has a practice in Birmingham, still calls me for advice sometimes, even though he knows far more about medicine than I ever will. I asked him once if things had changed, if black patients were treated differently now than in my day. He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "Now, Dad, it's better, but it's not fixed. Black patients still get less pain medication, still get dismissed when they describe symptoms, still die from things they shouldn't die from because nobody listened. The ghosts of Tuskegee are still walking the halls of every hospital in this country." Ghosts. That's a good word for it. We're all haunted by what they did. Let me tell you about a woman you might have heard of, Henrietta Lacks. In 1951, doctors at Johns Hopkins took cells from her body without her knowledge or consent. Those cells, they called them HeLa cells, turned out to be unlike anything science had ever seen. They could survive outside the body, reproduce indefinitely. They became the foundation for some of the most important medical breakthroughs of the 20th century. Polio vaccine, cancer research, AIDS research, billions of dollars worth of science, all built on cells stolen from a black woman who died at 31 and never knew she'd given anything. Her family didn't find out for decades, and when they did, they got nothing. No compensation, no recognition, just the knowledge that pieces of their mother, their grandmother, were in laboratories all over the world, and nobody had ever asked permission. That's what we were to them, not patients, not people, raw material. How many others were there? How many black men and women walked into clinics and hospitals thinking they were getting help, only to have their bodies harvested for science? We'll never know. Most of those records are gone, destroyed, hidden. The full scale of what was done will never be known. But I know what was done to me, and I carry it every day. In 1997, President Clinton apologized for the Tuskegee study, had a ceremony at the White House, invited the survivors. There were only 8 left by then out of the original 600, and said the nation was sorry, said what happened was wrong, said it should never happen again. I watched that apology on television, watched those old men my age now standing there receiving words, just words, and I thought about all the men who weren't there. The ones who died, the ones who passed the disease to their families, the ones whose trust had been destroyed forever. An apology doesn't give you back your blood, doesn't give you back your health, doesn't give you back 40 years of watching your body betray you because someone decided you were an experiment instead of a person. I never got an apology. Nobody ever acknowledged what was done to me specifically. I was just one of thousands of unnamed black people whose bodies were used without consent for research that benefited everyone but us. And here's the cruelest part. The research helped people. The things they learned from Tuskegee, from Henrietta Lacks, from all the unnamed subjects of all the unnamed studies, that knowledge saved lives. White lives mostly, but lives. So how do you hold that? How do you reconcile the fact that your suffering, your violation led to something that helped humanity? Does that make it okay? Does the end justify the means? No, it doesn't. It never does. Because there's another way, the way that involves consent, respect, treating people like human beings instead of laboratory animals. They could have asked, they could have explained, they could have given us the choice to contribute to science willingly, with full knowledge of what we were given. They didn't, because they didn't see us as people who deserved choices. I'm 87 years old. Dolores passed in 2019. 62 years we had together. She never let me forget my worth. Never let me believe the lie that my body wasn't my own. Every time I started to spiral, to feel like I was nothing more than what those doctors saw in me, she'd grab my face and say, "Clarence Washington, you are a man, a whole man. What they took doesn't define you." I'm still trying to believe that. 87 years old and I'm still trying. My great-granddaughter Imani, she's in medical school now. Third generation of our family to enter medicine because of what happened to me. She's going to be a researcher. Studies informed consent, studies medical ethics, studies the history of experimentation on black bodies so that she can help make sure it never happens again. She interviewed me last year for a paper she was writing, sat across from me with a recorder and a notebook, and asked me to tell her everything. I talked for 4 hours, told her things I'd never told anyone. And when I was done, she had tears streaming down her face. You know, she said, "Great-grandpa, how did you survive? How did you not become bitter?" I told her the truth. I said, "5 Mile, baby, I am bitter. I've been bitter for 63 years, but bitterness doesn't have to stop you from living. Doesn't have to stop you from loving. Doesn't have to stop you from fighting." Yeah, I've been bitter and I've been fighting at the same time. And the fighting matters more. You know, she's going to change things. I believe that. Her generation, they're not going to accept what my generation accepted. They're asking questions, demanding records, insisting on consent. The ghosts of Tuskegee are still there, but there are young people now who are determined to exercise them. If you're watching this and you're black, I want you to know something. Your suspicion of the medical system isn't paranoia. It's inherited wisdom. It's the knowledge passed down through generations that we have been used, abused, and discarded by the very institutions that claim to care for us. But I also want you to know this. Don't let that suspicion kill you. Don't avoid doctors entirely. Don't refuse treatment that could save your life. Find doctors you trust, black doctors if you can, allies if you can. Ask questions, demand explanations, read everything before you sign it. Know your rights. Your body is yours. It has always been yours. And anyone who wants to use it for anything needs your permission. If you're watching this and you're not black, I want you to understand why we hesitate, why we question, why we don't just trust because someone has a degree on their wall. We've seen where blind trust leads. We've buried the bodies. We carry the trauma in our very cells. Don't tell us to just get over it. Tuskegee didn't end until 1972. That's not ancient history. There are people alive today who were part of that study. There are children and grandchildren still dealing with the consequences. The wound is fresh. It's still bleeding. What you can do is listen. Believe us when we tell you our pain isn't being taken seriously. Advocate for us when we're being dismissed. Help change a system that was built on our exploitation. I keep a small bottle on my dresser. It's empty now, but it used to hold medication. Real medication. The pills that Dr. Patterson in Montgomery gave me in 1963, the ones that actually cured my rheumatic fever. I keep that bottle to remind myself that healing is possible, that there are good doctors out there. That medicine can be a force for good when it's practiced with respect and consent, but I also keep it to remind myself of those other bottles, those dozens of vials of my blood that disappeared into a system that saw me as raw material. I don't know where they went. I'll never know. But I know they took something from me that I never agreed to give. I'm 87 years old. I've lived a good life despite what they did. Married a woman I love, raised children who became good people, watched my family grow and thrive, survived long enough to tell this story. But part of me is still in that clinic, still 24 years old, still watching my blood fill those vials, still trusting the smiling doctors who saw me as an experiment instead of a man. That boy never got justice, never got answers, never got his blood back. This story is for him, for all the hims and hers whose bodies were stolen, whose trust was betrayed, whose suffering built a medical system that still struggles to see us as fully human. We remember. We will always remember. So this is my story. I want to thank this channel and the entire team for hearing me, for giving me the opportunity to finally speak my truth after all these years. I hope you share this with everyone in your life. I want them to understand why we don't trust easily. I want them to know the history that lives in our bones. Subscribe if you want to hear more stories like mine. And if you've got your own story to tell, you can simply send it to the channel in email. Maybe next time we'll be sharing your story.